Hello, everyone. Happy Saturday and happy Kwanzaa. Today's Saturday? Today's
Yep.
Saturday. Guys, after
Saturday.
Christmas, the days get kind of gray on you. So happy Saturday, but happy Kwanzaa. Happy sixth day of Kwanzaa. Today is the sixth day of Kwanzaa. We're on our sixth principle. We know our sixth principle is Kuumba. And so we're talking about Kuumba this evening. No, it's not Dr. Chica and Principal Kafele. That's not who you see before you. Yes, you see some bald head men, but not those bald head men, right? There's two other bald head men. And so we're going to be joined by Mr. Onae Chatman and Dr. Shaun Woodley of Teach Hustle and Inspire tonight. And so they're going to have a conversation with us about creativity. We're excited. They are a part of the BER family. Like I told y'all, we go deep. We go deep. And they are, I like to call the young gunners. You know, we had the elders on, but now we have the young gunners on. And we are going to talk tonight about Kuumba. You know, when Dr. Chica and Principal Kafele are on, they're the elders. But with these two, I think I'm the oldest, y'all. But I'm okay. I'm okay with it, Shadidra. I'm okay with it. You did. You tuned in just in time. Happy Kwanzaa. Happy Kuumba. Habani Gari. We're going to give it just a few minutes to let others get in. I'm going to share it on the other pages and we'll start soon. Dr. Shaun, if you want to say something, don't introduce yourself yet. We're going to wait to 8:10 when everybody's
Okay.
in, but just say
All
Habari
right.
Ghani and talk to
Yes.
everybody.
Of course. Good evening. Amari Ghani. Happy Kwanzaa. Happy almost New Year to everyone. Hope everybody is being healthy, happy, and safe. And just one of the things that I'll just go on and say, we get into this New Year thing, and don't wait. I mean, it's December 31st right now, but you don't have to wait until the top of the New Year. Start now. Like let's go. These goals need some motivation behind it. Don't wait for an arbitrary date. Like let's go yesterday. Like let's get these goals going because 2023 is coming, and I know that I'm here for it. Are you? That's the question. But anyway,
That
I'm
is
gonna
the
stop because
question.
I'm gonna get ahead of myself. Let me just go ahead and relax a little bit.
Oh, Nay, you want to say, we're not talking about Kwanzaa yet, but if there's anything you want to go ahead and share, please do so now.
Listen, Habar Gandhi, man, I'm excited to be here with these great scholars. Listen, I've been enjoying the conversation the past few nights with two of my mentors, two brothers that I hold dear to my heart, uh, Principal Kafele and my mentor, Dr. Chica. And so just want to add to the conversation. Just want to add to the conversation. And I'm excited about going into a new year, excited about what we're going to do in the field of education, excited about the Rock Conference coming up, and just happy to be here.
And no one is happier than me to have you too. Like I said, I love how deep our family is with Black Educators Rock. Like we've been talking about cooperative economics, we've been talking about collective works, guys. Each of these men are powerhouses in and of themselves, by themselves, but how much stronger are we together, y'all? And so
Hmm.
I am
Hmm.
super, super excited to have three kings, one of the three kings join me, and the CEO of Teach Hustle Inspire, but they are still Black educators rockers because, like we said, we're all things Black education. So we're going to give it a few more minutes. Continue to share like I'm doing with your friends and colleagues and welcome them to the conversation. It's the sixth night of 7 nights of talking about Kwanzaa. We know that the first six we've gone through, and how intentional was was Dr. Karanga when he put these together, guys. You know, we started off with
Hmm.
unity. We started off talking about unity. Then we went into talking about what is that? What's the next one? And that's because I'm
Uh,
trying to share
we got
self
self
determination.
determination,
Self
Hmm.
determination. Then we went into
collective work, and responsibility.
That
and
discussion, I tuned in for a good part of that discussion. That
was very
discussion touched
needed.
my soul. Yes,
Yes,
most
yes,
definitely.
very needed conversation. And then we had cooperative economics.
Mm.
Mhm.
How important is that? And last night we had purpose. Listen, purpose, working, but purpose, collective purpose. not just our purpose in of ourselves, but understanding that it takes our collective purpose, it takes our individual purpose in order to be able to contribute to our collective purpose. And so I am super excited about this conversation. We got about 5 more minutes before we get into it. So continue to share, continue to invite them in, let them know we having our sixth talk tonight. Guys, 7 days. And again, this is the inaugural time we're doing this, but we intend to do this every year. And this should not be something, as I've been saying all week, that we just do. Oh, it's cute. Oh, we did it. Put the candles up, put the display up, until next year. This is to get us recentered and grounded for the next 365. And then we come back and we just recenter and get grounded again. And so, as Dr. Shaun said, what are we waiting on? The moment is now. We don't have to wait until January 1 to do anything. We know that everybody has their resolutions. Hopefully, one of those resolutions is to commit to implementing the principles daily, the 7 principles every day. And so that is hopefully what you're getting from this conversation. So you said, Dr. Shaun, you tuned in the night of collective works.
I want to say it was 2 of them, collective work and responsibility. And then also was day 2. I think collective work and responsibility was day 3, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, day 2 is unity. 2. I'm sorry,
yep.
Self-determination.
Yep, self-determination. Yep, it was those 2 conversations. The other ones I kind of jumped in and out, but those 2 I sat down and as I mentioned to you before, Dr. Chester, I was learning. I was taking it all in, kind of, when the elders speak and they're dropping these gems, I'm just here to listen. So I was taking it all in, and I felt like that even though I am a teacher of teachers, quote, I was being fed during those discussions because it was causing me to think about things that I was well aware of, but just from a different perspective, and just having those different perspectives, having those different angles, having those different vantage points based on the lived experiences of others, based on what the research says, based on research that I might not be familiar with, is all food for my soul, especially when it's so relevant. So I'm literally just taking it all in.
And you, Onae, which days were you most impacted by, do you think?
I think last night's conversation was very strong when y'all begin to dig into y'all why. That to me took this thing to another level, because I like how Doc flipped the question back to you and had you to give your why. Because I have this little thing I do when I'm doing speeches, and I say that everybody uses their why. I like to flip it and use what's my why not, because I like to look at things from that vantage point of why not go for it? Why not seek unity? Why not seek your purpose? Why not, go after the things that you were created to do and be? And so the way y'all dug into that thing was like off the chain, man.
I like that. Why not? So why not? So when you answer why not? Why not? Why are you not contributing to your community? Why are you not walking in your purpose? That's a deep way to ask that question as well.
Yeah.
I would love to hear some answers to that one. Why not? Why haven't you been? What does it take to awaken that within you? I like that. I like that a lot. Why not? Thank you for sharing that. Yes, I think I was saying last night, and I'll reiterate it tonight. Like, I didn't learn Kwanzaa as a child, as a teenager. I learned it as a young adult in college. And it just, these last 6 days is hitting completely different for me. And I'm really, really impacted by like the depth of it this time. Like within our sorority, we honor Kwanzaa, and we do some activities with Kwanzaa. But man, when I say it's hitting completely different, and it's going to be a completely different soror that is going to be participating in Kwanzaa activities, it definitely is. And so I am super excited about my own learning, being able to share that learning, and just how people are going to take it and implement it. Knowledge is not power. Knowledge is not power. The implementation of knowledge is power. And so I am so looking forward to how we're going to implement all of these things that we've talked about and we've digested and we've learned.
And I think to your point, Dr. Chester, one of the things, I know we've reached the 10 minutes after hour, but you just sparked this thought about it hitting different. And I think part of that, at least for me, is because the whole purpose in what we do, especially as leaders of other educators, is growth. And so if my purpose and if part of my purpose is that I need to grow, that means I'm not the same person that I was last year. And so these discussions, these learning opportunities are hitting different because they're literally hitting on somebody different. I'm not who I was last year. And so now, because of the different experiences that I've had, because of the learning, because of where I'm trying to go, because I'm trying to grow, I'm seeing this from a different vantage point. And so it's landing a little bit different and probably taking root in a way that it could not have before, because again, I'm a different person.
Yes, yes, yes. And if you're not growing, I mean, what are you doing? What are you doing? We know that comfort zones are comfortable places, but nothing grows there. And so
Mm-hmm.
thank you for that. And so we're going to get into the conversation. We're going to start first by introducing ourselves. Since you were just talking, Dr. Shaun, go ahead
Sure.
and introduce yourself first.
Absolutely. My name is Dr. Shaun Woodley. I am CEO and founder of the educator movement Teach, Hustle, Inspire. And the teach means to unlock intellectual treasure. The hustle is about how we can't stop learning and we won't stop learning. And the inspire is the bedrock to it all. It's spreading love and light. And with this work that I do, I am an educator, I am an author, I am a speaker, and I have the awesome privilege to work with teachers that serve predominantly in urban and culturally diverse communities. As a 16, 17-year educator now, I've taught from everything from the K-12 level, the university level, and now I am a teacher of teachers. And I get up every single day, as my man Principal Kafele says, on fire and ready to do this work. I travel a lot. And when I don't travel, I'm working on a book that I'm blessed to have an opportunity for a book deal with a large publisher, and that will be out for the 2023-2024 school year.
Right. Thank you, Mr.
Nice.
Onae Chatman.
Nice. My name is Onae Chatman, from Tupelo, Mississippi. You may know that name. Tupelo is the birthplace of Elvis. Small town, but so many people come here every year to go to his small house where he was born, right? And so that's kind of what we're known for. I am the founder of the Young Kings Gentlemen School for Boys, school I started for boys 8 to 19, teaching them life skills here in rural Mississippi. I saw a great need for boys to have life skills, boys to learn how to iron clothes, how to wash clothes. We bring in a chef, teach them how to cook. So if mom is not home, you don't burn the kitchen down, right? So we're teaching them all these different principles to bring them up as young kings. And I'm very intentional with that name, Young Kings, because I believe in affirmations. I believe in speaking those things that you're going to become, that you're already, right? I believe you already have the genius on the inside. As my boy King Walker would say, we're just awakening the genius, right? That's already on the inside. Uh, so for about 15 years, I've been a community educator, educating mostly in the community, but now I've kind of shifted more to K-12 schools. And just out here doing this work, man, excited about this conversation.
Thank you. And I am, if for those that do not know who I am, I'm Dr. Melissa Chester, co-founder and CEO of Black Educators Rock. We're so much more than a Facebook group. We are actually a national nonprofit. We welcome all educators, no matter the level, teachers, superintendents, principals, librarians. It's anyone who is vested in our children, right? In teaching our Black children. And so we support those who teach Black children. And so anybody who is involved in that, you are welcome to join Black Educators Rock. We have entrepreneurs, we have K-12 educators, we have higher ed educators, we are going to be more intentional about reaching out to our early childhood educators because I realize that they have been neglected and they are the most important. We do have an annual membership of $50 for our general membership, and then there's tiers. There's an entrepreneur, there's a institutional level, etc. We host an annual professional development conference every summer since 2016. We've been in Orlando, Jacksonville. We've been in Charlotte, North Carolina. We've done virtual because of COVID, but we will be back face to face 2023, July 13th through the 16th here in sunny Jacksonville, Florida. And so we will be sharing information about that this week coming up, the new year. How you can participate. We'll be asking for requests for proposals as well as sharing registration information. And so I'm super excited again to have this conversation with these young gunners. You know, we've had the elders all week, and now we have our young gunners, those who are out here still doing this work as well and leaning on and gleaning from our elders. All of us are doing that. And so we're having the conversation tonight, y'all, about Kuumba. And Kuumba is creativity. I'm going to read my post first, and then I'm going to read the definition, and then we're going to get into our conversation. So, happy Kwanzaa, Habari Gani. The sixth principle of Kwanzaa is Kuumba, which means creativity. It is each of our responsibilities to live in the spirit of creativity, always manifesting as we continue to move forward. If we truly understand Kwanzaa, we know that we are to build upon each principle so that we are able to manifest our creativity in order to impact our families, our communities, and our societies. But you must first be grounded in unity, self determination, collective works, cooperative economics, and purpose. If one is grounded in the Nguzo Saba, then he or she is willing and able to implement creativity to solve some of our problems. Creativity is simply connecting new dots to new ways. Creativity involves breaking out of established patterns in order to look at things in a different way. Creativity is seeing what everyone has seen and thinking what no one else has thought. That was from Albert Einstein, that last sentence. So, Kuumba, to do always as much as we can to leave our community more beautiful and beneficial than we inherited it, right? So creativity is what we're talking about tonight. But as I said, in my humble opinion, you must first understand unity, right? You must first have self-determination. You must understand that we have to collectively do this work. It has to be collective works and responsibility. We must understand that it must also incorporate cooperative economics. And we have to understand our purpose. We have to understand our why. Because if you don't know your why, then why not? Why are you not doing it? And so with that, we move into creativity. And so let's have this conversation about creativity. So what when you gentlemen think about Kuumba and creativity, what first comes to mind? And I'll start with you first, Onae.
I mean, I think about how fitting. I think about how fitting it is that creativity is a part of the seven because, in my opinion, there's no group of people more creative than Black people. Um, I really believe that our ingenuity is our superpower, right? If anybody's asking us to give a list of what makes us us, I'm gonna always lead with our ingenuity, the way that we are able to make something out of nothing, the way that we're able to stretch, right? Even the smallest of things and be able to create something of value, right? When you look at Black Wall Street, right? When you look at Rosewood, when you look at all these communities that we had, even before he laid down these particular principles, I can just think about how creative these individuals were to help push our community forward. And I really begin to think about this because I'm like, okay, when Dr. Karenga is writing these principles, I'm always looking at the backdrop, right? I'm looking at the backdrop of what's going on. We're talking about 1966. What's going on? I mean, we're at the height of the civil rights movement, right? Well, we're at the height of our creativity. where people are we're using our ingenuity for boycotts. We're using our ingenuity for sitting. We're using our ingenuity to go out and protest, to get laws changed, to get laws reversed, to get laws taken off the book, to put some on the book, right? So we're at the height of our creativity in 1966. And so I'm like, wow, it's just amazing that when you look at the backdrop of when he's writing these principles, what's actually going on in America and how it begins to all tie in.
Yes, yes. So agree. And thank you, Elder Kafele Kaumba. It's not Kumba, Kaumba. He let me know. He texted me, y'all, and told me I needed to get it right. So
That's what the
happy
elders do. They get us right. They get us right.
Kaumba, right? Barigani and Kaumba. So
Um,
thank you for that. Um, Onae and Dr. Sean, your turn when you
All
think
right.
about it.
When I think of Kuumba creativity, what instantly it takes me to just the intrinsic drive that we have to create. And that, with a lot of the professional development sessions that I do, just depending on what the needs are, what I try to help, one of the things that I try to help educators understand is that the way that we learn to quote unquote motivate students is rooted in this very carrot and stick punishment and rewards framework. And we totally leave out the intrinsic desire that we all have to create. And that'll push a student further than a piece of candy ever will. And if you really think about it, like, not to get biblical here, but I'll go ahead and do it. If you think about where the Bible starts, it says, in the beginning, God created, like that word is
mm,
there. And then later on, it tells us that we were created in his image. So if you do 2 plus 2, that still equals 4 in my book. So we were created and therefore created in his image by the creator. That means therefore we are creators, which is why it has such a strong internal push for us
Mhm.
to do it. And when that is suppressed, that literally hurts us. It's literally causing trauma for us not to be able to create. And look what happens when we do. If you think about what pop culture is, think about pop culture is nothing but Black culture. Pop culture, everything that you see, all these TikTok trends and dances, think about clothing and style. I grew up in New York. And one thing that if we did nothing else, we came to school dressed, style, creativity. You know, we call, y'all call them Air Force Ones, but we call them Uptowns in my day. And Uptowns, you know, they used to come. You had to get your all whites, but let that creativity shine. I used to go to Jamaica Ave. I used to go to Jamaica Ave and see how I can express my creativity and come back to school with the colors that nobody else has, because it's my intrinsic desire to create and express my creativity, and that's connected to my identity. It's so powerful. It's so powerful that these trends that are created, they get stolen from
Mm.
these young creators. Like, people have literally professions in being a creator now, and those ideas are getting stolen and capitalized on. That's how powerful it is.
Yes, yes, yes. So yes, pop culture is Black culture. And so you said something there, Dr. Sean, that really made me think about when I posted. And it is involving coming out of that established pattern, right? When you
Mm-hmm.
were talking about those students, that carrot and stick, that was established patterns. We have to, creativity is not doing it. And that's what Principal Kafele's post was about. You guys
Mm-hmm.
did not see his. He focused directly on the classroom and educators and making that classroom not so traditional, for lack of a better term, but stepping outside your box and addressing children's needs. And so yes, yes, yes. And if you know that you were created by the creator to be creative, how can you not be? So I so concur with what you said. um Creativity, like I said, is seeing what everyone has seen and thinking what no one else has thought. So it's
mm,
innovation.
I like that. That's it.
yeah.
That's it. That's
It's
it.
innovation. It's creating solutions, right? That's what creativity is. Creativity is seeing problems and implementing solutions, creating solutions. And so That is hopefully what we understand because how he says it. Listen to how he says it. He says to do always, as much as we can, to leave our community more beautiful and beneficial than we inherited it. Right? So
That's
that's what
it.
he's
Yep.
saying in that. He's saying stop looking at the status quo and create what we want, right?
Hmm.
We have to create what we want our world to be. And so again, I'm super excited about having this conversation. And feel free to chime in when you want to. So we have
I,
someone saying,
well, let
go
me
ahead.
say, I like that because, to piggyback off Dr. Shaun, what I'm hearing is that if you can be inspired, you can be creative, right? Dr. Howard Thurman, who's the mentor of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., has a quote that says, "Don't ask what the world needs." He says, "Ask what makes you come alive and go do it."
Hmm.
Then he says, "Because what the world needs is more people that have come alive." In that, what I'm hearing is what we need is more people who are able to be inspired. And if you're able to be inspired, you're able to be creative. So we live every day of our lives saying, hey, what inspires me? What gets me up out of the bed, right? Going back to that why question, right? What gets me up? What gets me going? What gets my juices flowing, right? And you take that question and you actually become alive. And that's why we have so many creators. We have young people that have actually come alive. That's why I hate to hear people say there's no hope for these young people, or they're doomed, or they're this or they're that. No, no, no. When I'm in K-12 schools, what I see is young people that have come alive. I just see them in environments where the environment is on life support, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I
Yes.
see young people that are alive, right? And it's our job to continue pumping that oxygen into them that makes them go out and thrive in society. And so that's what I heard. I heard Dr. Howard Thurman as I was reflecting on this last night, and I was like, wow, what the world needs is more people that have come alive. And that's how you become creative, by being inspired. If you can be inspired, you can be creative.
Yes. Yes.
Hmm.
Yeah, that
And
was,
I'll
yeah.
just, and what that makes me think of is the beginning to bring this directly to the classroom about becoming alive. When I first started teaching, I was dead. I was dead in the sense that I was that educator that tried to fit into the mold because I'm going to be honest. I was teaching smack dab in the middle of the hood. And what I thought that I was supposed to do for those kids was I thought I was supposed to have a heavy discipline focus. I thought that I was supposed to come in there and lay the educational hammer because they just like I started teaching in October was the beginning of my teaching career. It was not in July, June. I didn't get hired. I got hired in the middle of the school, in the middle of the school year, so to speak. And so because they had literally just ran the teacher out of there. So my mindset was all wrong coming in there. And I say I was dead because I was trying to fit into a mold of who I thought I was supposed to be. And literally for 2 years, I taught like that until I got a rude awakening one day. And literally, a young lady's parent, and I've shared this story many times. Young lady's sixth grader at the time, parent called me and said, my daughter's scared in your classroom. I'm generating fear because of what I'm supposed to do. And most of these children look like me. And I was not alive. And so that was a rude awakening for me to step out of who I thought I was supposed to be and be my true, authentic self. And what that unlocked was the ability for my students to live in their true authenticity. And from that, we've been able to do all sorts of things and get state level blue ribbon recognition from the state of Virginia, which is where I was teaching at the time. But I really like what you said, Onae, because that really I resonated with that because I was not alive. I literally was just a mold of someone else who I thought I was supposed to be. And when I stepped into my identity of who I was as a person, as a man, as an educator of who our children need, leaving those children better than when they first came to me. Like that
Mm,
quote, my community leaving it better. Like those children had to walk through the threshold of my tutelage. And it was my responsibility to make sure that they left better them before they got in there. And for 2 years, I didn't do that. And it still bothers me to this day. But I tell you what, from that moment on, I made some changes and I saw magic happen. And what that taught me was that those babies could do it. It just has not been with the teach the unlocked. It hadn't been unlocked until that point.
So Principal Kafele said it this way on his post, and it speaks just to what you were talking about. He says, I'm an educator and I typically see the world through the lens of an educator. So with Kuumba, I see a classroom that is vibrant, exciting, and energetic that evokes a ton of enthusiasm. This is not the challenging part, however. The challenge is how to sustain this enthusiasm over the course of 10 months. In part, that's where Kuumba must kick in. As educators of all capacities within schools, there must be an intentionality to keep the classroom fresh while simultaneously preventing it from becoming stale. That creative spirit must be working at all times to keep that school and classroom vibrant towards creating a learning environment where students are eagerly looking forward to entering every morning. Your creativity matters. And so made me think about Onae when you said a lot of schools are on life support. And then Dr. Shaun, you said you were dead. And so what we have is a lot of sleepwalkers. We have either people are asleep, they're sleepwalking, or they're nearly dead. They're on life support. And they are not, Onae, to your point, being inspired. And if
Right.
they are not being inspired, how can they dare be creative? And that's just not in our classrooms. That's in our communities. That's in our workspaces. That's in our families. Guys, this
Mm-hmm.
is to be looked at through every lens of your being. And so
Yeah.
always remember that anybody that you come into contact with, you're supposed to leave them be better than how they met you, right?
Yep.
Leave them
I'm
better
telling you.
before you receive them, right?
Yep.
And
One.
it's so I think about how creativity is sandwiched right between purpose and faith. That is no mistake, right? Because it's purpose first, right? Excuse me for using the scriptures, but I knew you before you was in your mother's womb, right? That's you already have a purpose. Now we can get you to activate that purpose and be creative, and then we slap some faith on it. You become a monster, right? You become a beast, right? Because you got all these things working together for you. You already have a purpose. That's the first thing we have to let them know. That's why I'm so strong on affirmations. I want you to know from the beginning, you already have a purpose, right? I just need you to become alive in the purpose. And if I can get you to become alive inside of the purpose and we put some faith on that thing, listen, you can't be stopped. Listen, I'm a young man from rural Mississippi, born to 14-year-old parents. I never thought I would be on a Zoom talking to other scholars, right? When you look at my background, born to 14-year-old parents in 1982,
Mm-hmm.
right? Hey, look, listen, this is when they made the mama come to the front of the church and apologize for getting pregnant, right?
Mm. Mm.
Right? So if I can do it, if somebody could tap into my ingenuity and say, young man, you have a purpose, although you come from rural Mississippi, dirt poor, never had no Jordans, never had nice clothes, none of that. That's why I dress nice now. I never had any of those things, right? But what I'm saying is if I got a purpose and if I can be creative, I have 24 books now. That's me tapping into my creativity, not because I'm such a great writer, but because there's so much in me. I just got to get it out some type of way, right? And so if I can tap into the creative and then I slap some faith on top of it, you can't stop me,
It's
right?
like what
So
Latanya said. She said, abundant life is the gift that we were blessed with, and creativity, ingenuity, and purpose is paying it forward. And Muhammad Ali said, our the service is our rent that we pay here on earth. He said that's what we're
yeah,
supposed to do, serve others, right?
yeah,
And so what you're saying, Onae, we definitely we concur and we agree. How could we not? Again, though, let's talk about when we're not alive, when we are sleepwalking, when we have not been resuscitated, we are on life support. How can we tap into our inner selves to get to be awakened, reawakened, or to breathe fresh air, new air? What for me, when I ask that question, the answer to me is if it's not in you, it's within your grasp. And that's when I always say people have to understand we are not meant to walk this earth alone. You have to have a village. You have to have people that you can be completely authentic with. Someone said that earlier about being your authentic self. You know, if you're the strongest person in your circle, that's a problem. You have to find somebody that you too can lean on. And that is something that I've always found in my life, right? Is that I'm my mom's parents. I'm the oldest sister, even if I'm not the oldest sibling. I'm always I'm always the person. And so the one thing that I'm always searching for on Nate is who is this going to let me not be Dr. Chester, Professor Chester, Doc, the boss, CEO? Can I just be Melissa and say that I'm vulnerable right now and I just need to just be vulnerable and be weak and be okay and cry? And I think that enough of us don't have that space.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I like that. I like that because we need the space, you know, to create. We need the space to create, and part of the slavery experiment um, was getting creative people and suppressing them so that they can't operate in their ingenuity, right? So if I say you can't read, right,
Mm.
I know it's only so far you're going to be able to go. So that's why I have such a hard time with people who have the opportunity and don't take it, right? I mean, to know how to read and don't to know how to read and don't read is no different than not knowing how, right? So you have the opportunity because it's hard to be what you can't see, right? You have to be able to be inspired. Somebody have to be able to tap into their ingenuity to bring it out of you. And so that's part of what the experiment was. Let's see how far we can suppress this group of people to keep their genius down, right? But we already know we're gonna be genius regardless, right? If we gotta sing in the brush harbor, we gotta sing in a language that they don't even understand. If we gotta do it in a way that they don't even know what we're talking about, right? We're still gonna bring out that genius. It's still gonna come out because it's just in you, and what's in you will come out of you.
So true, and we just have to make sure we focus that into positivity and not negativity. And so, as she says, hard to be what you cannot see.
Hmm. Imagine what Brother Malcolm. Wow.
We are
Yeah.
seeds. Yeah. Yes, you said a lot. You said a lot then. And I know your passion is for the youth, just like myself. And I think all of us, even though if our passion is for the youth, even though our audience may not be for some people, right? But the audience that you work in when you're a consultant, a professional, you're doing this work is because it's ultimately about make sure you're impacting the people that impact the youth. And so when you're having this conversation about, the genius and his genius still came, that's right. His genius still came out and he represented us all in a different way. Just confirms what Onae said. Sometimes, it's always going to be suppressed. That's purposeful. But again, sometimes, guys, that suppression is self-inflicted. And you have to understand that. We all have to be more intentional about calling forth our greatness, right? And the best way to call forth your greatness is to acknowledge other people's greatness, right? See them, see other people for their greatness, see other people for their potential. Speak it, affirm it, as Onae said, and walk in these principles: unity, self-determination, collective work and responsibility, cooperative economics, purpose, and creativity. I mean, there is no way that we cannot win if we do that.
One of the things that this brings to mind for me is speaking of slavery and the research that comes with that. With some of the, I read this research one time, and basically to summarize it, you have two parents, a black parent and a white parent. The white parent has their child, like let's just say they're sitting at the park, and the white parent has their child, third
Mhm.
grader. The third grader is doing very well academically, and the white parent says, my baby little Johnny here is doing so well in school, and and the black parent, oh, kudos and congratulations to you. I see that he is so smart. Yes, he is. He's done well. He's made the honor roll, etc., etc. Now put that on the other side, the black parent. The white parent will say, oh, I see here that your son is smart too. He's doing very well, congratulating her and acknowledging the effort and the accomplishments of that child, but the Black parent's response will be very different.
Yes.
The Black parent's response will be, oh yeah, but he's such a headache at home. Oh my goodness, he drives my nerves. But we're doing the best that he can with him. The response and the place from where those responses comes is different. And I'm going somewhere with this. And that was connected back hundreds of
Oh, I know
years
where
to
you're going. Yeah.
slavery for how people protected their children. Because when
Mm-hmm.
that slave master came over and said, "Oh, I see your son there is pretty strong. He's growing up there." Oh no, he's not. He's weak. The mother instinctively, as a defense mechanism, would talk down
Right.
her child to protect them, and that's still to some extent a practice to this day.
Oh,
And if
yes.
you think about education, a lot of us in education, technically speaking, is a white space.
Oh, yes.
Education is a white space. And many of like this establishment of Black Educators Rock is a unicorn of an establishment as far as the grand scheme of education is concerned. But where, and I think Dr. Chester, you mentioned this, if my memory is correct, Tuesday, Wednesday, when we have some of the other Black educators say that they are literally the only Black educator in their school, some in their district. I'll never forget Principal James Presley, and I met him in 2018, and that man broke down because he felt he was in a safe space for one of the first times in his career.
Mm.
That was to me, that was I had not made that connection. So what am I saying here? I'm saying for many of us, we have traumatic, suppressed creative responses because we're trying to operate in white spaces.
Mm.
How can I be my true, authentic self when I'm dealing with hundreds of years of trauma responses and you want me to be creative? It's hard. And it's hard. It's something that we have to acknowledge, and it's something that we can deal with, but we have to acknowledge that it's there first. And many of us, we don't even realize it. It's just natural responses for us. We're literally trying to operate and thrive in a white space.
Mm.
Yes. Yes. You have to name it. In order to be released from it, you have to name it. And
Wow.
and when you name it, it does, like you said, now that we've acknowledged that, now that we can move in it. And when you were saying it, I knew exactly where you were going. And we do it to ourselves. You know, when
Yeah.
people pay us compliments, we minimize our own compliments. And again, like you said, even when we're trying to be positive about other people, we'll say things like, "Oh yeah, he got his little business going. Yeah, he got his little job." You know, we will minimize the efforts, and we don't
Mm.
understand just how much and how deeply that is ingrained in us. And so we first have to again name it, call it a thing, so that it can be broken down. And in order to be broken down, again, it goes back to again that self-determination and that looking in the mirror and being authentic about who and what you see in the mirror and addressing those things, right? Addressing
Yeah.
those things and calling a thing a thing. And so true.
Bottle the discussions.
They are recorded, so we can bottle them. We can bottle them because they are being recorded. But that was so powerful when you said that, and we have to realize that. And so again, I'm going to always go back to certain things. Are you building your village for 2023? Right? Are you building your village? You have to be alive. If you know that you're sleepwalking, if you know that you're dormant, if you know that you're on life support, you need to get connected to some people that can breathe air into you so that you can awaken the genius that is in you, so that you can feel inspired, so that you can be creative,
Yeah.
because our babies are counting on y'all.
Yep.
We keep talking about the place and space that our children are in. And I said it, and I say it every night when we talk about the babies. That's because our handoff has been bad. They could not be where they are if we had handed the baton off properly.
Mm.
And so
Yeah.
what we have to do is understand that we have more onus on that than they do. And what we have to do is correct our wrongs. We can go back and fix it. They're still children, they're still youth. We can fix it because we know it is better to build up children than to repair broken men. And so we
100%.
need to work on that.
And what that, to piggyback off of that, Dr. Chester, I think a lot of us misunderstand how powerful creativity is when we talk about especially our young black men and women. And a lot of times we see them, we talked about being what you see. And for many of us, especially, we're talking about our inner city students and them wanting to be what they see a lot of times. And a lot of times if you see a student trying to do something, they'll say, well, I want to play ball. I want to make these beats. These kids right now, with the power of an iPhone, they can come up with some beats that will blow your mind. But if you really think about what that is, it's creativity. Them creating something that did not exist before. They're breathing life into a rhythm. And we already know that the rhythm is in each and every one of us. So why would they not want to drop these beats? Why would they not? It's literally in the fabric of what they're doing. It's creativity. It's so strong. I told some teachers one time, if you to bring an example, think of the company like IKEA. IKEA is a furniture company for the most part, right? You got your regular furniture companies, your Ashley Furniture, your American Furniture, Rooms to Go. You can go to any one of those stores, walk in to the sales floor, and if I wanted a couch and an end table and a headboard, I can go there and pick out that, and they'll deliver it to my house, and the deal is done. Just pay for it. But IKEA doesn't work like that. You go to IKEA and you need a couch and a headboard and an end table. You have to go up into that showroom floor. You have to write that stuff down, and then you have to go downstairs to that warehouse. And you got to pull them heavy boxes on that flatbed. Roll those heavy boxes out, put that stuff in the car yourself, bring it home yourself, open up that box to where you will have 1,052 pieces you got to put together yourself. But IKEA is a successful, multi-billion-dollar organization based off of one principle: creativity. Because when you really think about it, you have to breathe life into that end table. It exists because of you. And that's powerful. Wow.
Yeah.
That couch now, that headboard exists because you breathe life into that. It's the power of creation and recreation. 1,000 and am I lying?
I don't know anything about it, so I'm like, oh, really?
Listen,
I'm not an IKEA person, but somebody obviously understands.
Listen, I'm trying to tell you, but they understand how powerful the drive is for us to create. I have 2 small children, and I try to protect my carpets, but when they get this Play-Doh in their hand, Play-Doh is literally a glob of nothing. But what can they do every single time,
every
over
child
and
loves
over?
it.
Every one of them loves it. Why? Because they get to create. They get to breathe life into something that did not exist before their influence. You're talking about my children are 4 and 7, and they keep them busy for hours.
Said it. You said they get to breathe life into something before their influence, and that's what Kuumba is, right? Kuumba is definitely that, to make it better, make it more beautiful, make it more beneficial. Onae, I feel like you had something you wanted to say.
Oh, listen, piggybacking off my brother, man, listen, exercise I use to get young men to tap into their creativity is I lead with this sentence. I always tell them, everybody goes pro in something, it's just not sports. Everybody goes pro in something, because no matter where I go, all hands gonna raise. I want to be an NBA player, want to be an NFL player. That's fine, that's cool. But what I want you to know is everybody goes pro. You're going to be a professional realtor. You're going to be a professional speaker. You're going to be a professional teacher. You're going to be a professional professor, right? You're going to be a professional this, a professional welder, professional entrepreneur, right? It's not just always about sports, right? And what I'm basically trying to get them to see is that everybody is creative in something. It just may not always be sports. And if I can get you to tap into that, now I can really, really get you to thrive. Because when I'm in spaces and I'm seeing young boys that like to write, and I'm saying, you ever heard of James Baldwin? No. But they got us reading Beowulf, right? What am I going to get from Beowulf, right? What am I getting from all this and I don't know James Baldwin, right? I'm doing Black History programs, and I say, raise your hand if you know Benjamin Franklin. Everybody raise their hand. Raise your hand, you know Thomas Jefferson. Everybody raised their hand. But they don't know the guy, right? They don't know Dr. Carter G. Woodson.
Teach.
Right? And we're at a Black History program. They don't know the guy who created Negro History Week. Right? And so what I'm saying is that creativity is being suppressed intentionally.
Agreed.
And if we know it's being suppressed intentionally, as you said, Doc, we got to stop dropping the baton at home. Right? Because we have to teach it at home. If they don't know Dr. Carter G. Woodson, we got to put it in their hands at the house.
And I'm going back to that house may not be the traditional four walls. That's the village. The village. Because it was not taught in my house, and I was born in 73. Right?
Come on.
Listen, had it not been for other people in my neighborhood who saw something in me that nobody else saw, where would I be? Because my mother was a 17-year-old high school dropout. My dad was not in my household. And so she couldn't tell me anything. And so to your point, it does have to be taught in these villages. And guys, we got to understand that we are the village. We're the village. We're the village. I keep telling y'all to go find your village, but also be someone's village. Please be someone's village. And make sure our babies understand that, because like you said, they're going to go pro in something. My whole thing when I taught youth, Onae, was to explain to them that why you can't do both. Why not? So why can't you be a doctor and that? Why does it have to be either or? And see, because I do the analogy of this. When I go and speak to youth and I tell them my story, and I do this thing where, what do you think happened to her? And y'all sometimes it be so depressing, they kill me. I got children. I'm like, no, let me tell you what actually happened to her. And so I tell them what happens is it's intentional, because the way we're set up in this capitalistic society is that there has to be an underclass. For our society to work, there has to be a lower class. And so what they do is they distract us. And what they do is they put us in a box, Onae. And so what they do is they put nice things in the box. We got our rap music and our rims and our jewelry and our clothes and our labels and all this in the box. And what happens is they eventually close that lid to the box, and that box becomes your coffin. And you live and die in the box, right? But that's purposeful, and that's intentional, and that's strategic. And you have to start thinking outside of the box. Stop being traditional. Just because you're from the ghetto don't mean you have to be of the ghetto. Just because I was born in the hood don't mean I have to be of the hood. And so don't allow them to distract you with the nice things that's in the box, because that lid will subsequently close and become your coffin. That's how I say it when I go to youth.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you on fire, because I'm thinking, as you talking, I'm like, I ask my boys, how is it y'all know Warren Buffett? How is it you know Bill Gates? How is it you know Elon Musk? And I put Mr. A.G. Gaston on the screen, the Black Titan. You've never heard of this guy, right? Who, Mr. A.G. Gaston, Birmingham, Alabama, who's working in coal mines. What does he do? He starts selling his co-workers plate lunches, makes money. From there, he starts a funeral home. Well, people also need insurance. Starts an insurance company. Well, people need a place to stay. Dr. King comes to Alabama. He needs a place to stay. He creates a Gaston Motel where Dr. King stays when he comes to Birmingham, right? And their eyes, when I'm teaching these lessons, their eyes, you ought to see them, because they've never heard of this before. Don't you think it would inspire you if you knew a black man in 1920, in 1930 was worth $100 million? This is intentionally suppressed.
Yes. I always say it's intentional, strategic and intentional. Don't think that anything is by happenstance.
It does me no good to know Bill Gates and I don't know A.G. Gaston, right? I need to know a guy that looks like my grandfather. Look at him with the glasses and the top hat, right? He looks like our grandfather, right? What would that do for me if I could see this guy, right? And if I'm taught about this guy, how could that inspire me sitting in the classroom? I'm 13, I'm an entrepreneur, right?
I gotta ask you something, Onae. Hold on, because you well read over there. you well read over there. You're impressive, right? You someone who is the product of 14-year-old parents. How did you become? Because did you see? Because how was your creativity awakened? How was your genius awakened?
my creativity was awakened. I started reading. So I went to college and I ended up leaving, being a college dropout, as Kanye would say, right? And one day it just hit me like, I got to get this thing together. So I started reading like 3 to 4 hours a night. I started reading 4 books a month, and which has really helped me now in my doctoral program when you have to read 5 books in a month and a half before you get there, right? And they just gave you the syllabus like 4 weeks ago, right? So so I started reading 3 to 4 hours a night, and from there, listen, me going to Atlanta, Georgia, the Morehouse School of Religion, I will for every time I step foot on that campus, I cry. I kid you not. I cry every time I step foot on that campus because it was the place of my awakening. To be able to walk in the same space that Dr. King walked, that Dr. Benjamin Elijah Mays walked, right? To be able to be in these spaces every day and to be able to learn from all these professors. Dr. Raphael Warnock was my professor of Black church history, right? Like being able to, James Cone came and lectured in my classroom. Jeremiah Wright came and lectured in my classroom. So just being able to be around that type of scholarship took my mind to a whole new level. And I know everybody won't get the chance to go to those type of spaces, but you can read, right? You can get the books. As principal would say, you got to step foot in a bookstore.
Well, we got to promote literacy again. It's purposeful. And that's why I
Mhm.
said we have to be more intentional about the early childhood teachers because that's where
Yeah,
it begins. For a lot of us, and when it comes to early childhood, and let's be honest, they're daycares. They're not learning. They're just babysitting our children, right?
If it's a daycare, it's grandmama and them's house.
If it's a daycare or
Mm-hmm.
grandmama's house, and so
Mm-hmm.
and if you've done research, you know that by a certain age, um, when you look at black versus white, these people have heard over 350,000 words compared to I think a few hundred for a
Forty
black
thousand.
child. Yeah, 40,000.
40,000.
To right.
Yep.
So when that is all intentional again, and it starts so early, and so to your point, yes, they have to read these books, but it has to be instilled in them about the joy of reading and the importance of reading. And
yeah,
so, again, it may not come out of my household. It may come from my teacher. It may come from my next door neighbor. It may come from the lady that works at the store that I like to go to. But we have to make sure, again, that we're being intentional in all the spaces that we go into, that we're speaking life, that we're always educating. Even if we're not a traditional educator, we all are educators. We all
mm-hmm,
should be teaching. And anything that we learn, we should be sharing. And these are the principles of Kwanzaa. This is what it's all about. As we've been stressing, it's not a religion. It is a celebration of Black family, Black culture, and Black community. And someone said to me, and this was powerful. He said, well, he felt that this was my colleague and good friend turned good friend, Dr. Dennis McKesey. He said, "Well, what about if you're not African American? You know, Jamaican Americans and they may not Dominicans and the other blacks, they Haitians, they may not identify with Kwanzaa. And so, how do we get them to tap into this ideology of Kwanzaa?" And my answer to him was, and I that's when I was saying, honestly, before this 7 days, I could not have had a conversation with them as to why they should tap in, right? But now that I've had these 6 days of learning and instruction, I now could have that conversation. And so I just wanted to say that.
Onae, brother Onae, what you took me talking about the campus of Morehouse, and I am a HBCU graduate as well, brother. I went to the esteemed Hampton University, and and just looking at it through the lens of these principles, I can't help but to make the correlation of how that is woven. And I know Dr. Chester, as a FAMU grad, you know,
I'm talking about it next. Go ahead.
I can't help but to think about how HBCUs in some way, shape, or form project, infuse these, and I'm just kind of thinking about that, like the unity, the self-determination, the purpose, the faith, the creative, like that's what it's especially. I talked about the idea of being in a white space, but when you're in the HBCU space, I'm free to be me. And it's, yes, I'm around mostly Black people, but we're not a monolith. I never once felt like we were all
Yeah.
the same, but I knew I was free to be me. And there's so much power in that. There was so much that was awakened on the campus of Hampton University for those 4 or 5 years that I was there. And I just literally made that connection right now. Wow, that's power.
Wow. And to your point, so because what I love what Tracina said, what will be the place of your awakening? And I think about when we were talking about planting seeds, people were talking about planting seeds yesterday. And so my seeds were planted at Bethune-Cookman College because I'm from Daytona Beach. And so I was in the National Youth Sports Program. And people always say, where did you get your sense of competitiveness from and your sense of wanting to succeed? And it was in the NYSP program. And so the seeds were planted there, but then they did not blossom until I got to the Florida Agricultural, Mechanical, and University. And I became so proud to be Black. I remember coming home one day and my mom saying, who you racist? No, I'm not racist. Because we Black people can't be racist, but that's another whole conversation. But what I told her was that I was proud to be Black. Like she was like, there's this thing about like, because I was fist in the air after I attended FAMU and had my first Black professors, Dr. Sharon and Dana Denard, who owned a Black bookstore, who are psychologists in Tallahassee. And so that was where my awakening happened, Tracina. And if you have not had your awakening, as she stated, what will your place of awakening be?
Mm,
I love that.
Listen, I'm thinking as y'all talking right now. I'm thinking because when Dr. Karenga is putting forth these principles and he's talking about creativity, he's also talking about something deeper as well. So not just creativity that creates products, but a type of creativity that makes you become a problem solver.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And so that takes it to another level, because we good at creating these tangible products, the books, the apps, all these all these different things we create, the presentations, this and that. But are you willing to become a problem solver? Right? Are you willing to be seen as I like how Tommy says it. He says, we always talk about it takes a village. He says, but what happens when the village is corrupt?
Corrupt.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And so in order to keep the village from being corrupt, we need more problem solvers.
Yes.
Right? Listen, I absolutely hate seeing older men lead younger men down the wrong path. If you really want to get under my skin, I absolutely hate that, because what I'm telling you is you have the opportunity to become a mentor. Listen, there is no greater thing, there's no greater position, that you could ever be in than to use your creativity to become a problem solver for somebody else. Your life solves somebody else's problems. Everybody on this call right now is a problem solver. If you think about, if you get down to the crux of what you do every day, you solve problems, right? You solve problems in the K-12 space. You solve problems for people that need homes that have never had one. You solve problems for people that need to read, so you wrote the book, right? We all should become problem, and that's what Dr. Karenga was getting at, is that this is the type of creativity that does not just create products, but you become the product of the product. Right.
So to your point, some of us are problem solvers, but we have, for whatever reasons, because we're sleepwalking or we're dormant or we don't understand our purpose, we're not walking our purpose, what we've become is the problem seekers. So instead of, we always have a problem for the solution. Every time you bring problems instead of solutions. And so you got to understand who you are.
Trademark that. Trademark that. Trademark that. Trademark that.
You bringing the problems to the solutions. We talking solutions. You bringing more problems. I always say again, the analogy I use is that, and we get distracted by the little stuff too, Onae. We can't do it. I tell people the reason that we have not achieved what we need to achieve is because we get distracted. I always use the analogy of building a house. We talking about building a house, right? And we talking about the foundation. We got to pour the foundation, and we got to have the trusses and all this. Y'all arguing over what color the walls gonna be in the house, to the point of it's gonna break up the whole. Now we ain't even building a house no more because we arguing about some walls, and we haven't even gotten the foundation poured. We have to understand that we as Black people, because Dr. Shaun said it earlier, we are not a monolith. We are different. We're not even though they make generalizations about us, we are so different. There are so many ideologies and perspectives to us, but what we tend to do is get caught up on the little stuff so that we cannot accomplish the big. And we
Yeah.
gotta stop doing that. We have to. Yes, your life solves somebody else's problems.
Yep. Yep. Indeed.
There is such thing as old foods. We need critical thinkers and producers in the fourth industrial revolution. Amen. There is
Mm.
such thing as old foods, definitely. You know, distracted and distrust. That's right, distracted and distrust. Um, she when they made me think about something when she said that. When she said about when you were talking about you can't stand for older gentlemen to lead younger people down the wrong path. Do you remember even when we grew up in a time when even the drug dealers would tell the young men, "Hey, this is not what I want you doing. Hey,
This
Yeah.
ain't for you, little
it's
homie.
not for you, little homie. You go to
Nah.
school. I'm gonna put some money in your pocket." That
Mm-hmm.
that space has been lost. Like I said, we've become so Eurocentric in our thought processes and singular minded. We're very
Mm-hmm.
singular minded, and we just must get back to that village. We have to get back to it. And with somebody, I think it was Latanya said, "Learn to teach, teach to learn." It has to be that's that cycle. And
Hmm.
that's it has to keep coming back. Learn to teach, teach to learn. I love it.
Powerful,
Y'all,
powerful,
we all over
powerful.
here thinking about our own work. We over here digesting our own thoughts, like, ooh.
I told you, every one of these I learned. I'm taking this in, and again, because I'm not who I was last year, I'm processing this through an improved lens, and it's sitting differently now.
Ooh, that's right. That's what it says, Latanya. I walk through. It doesn't say hang out in the valley and complain. I
Mm,
walk through it. You got to go through it. That's the operative word is through. Yes, the old code of the streets has disappeared. And so, and it's a scary thing. And, again, it's because we've become so much more Eurocentric in our dealings, as you said, Onae, when he wrote this, we were in Black Mecca.
Yeah.
We were in a space and place of creativity and unity.
Hmm.
And again, it's all been intentional. Welfare, welfare was farewell to the Black man.
mm,
Yeah.
That's what welfare was. It was that mean, listen, we're gonna give you this money, but that Black man can't be in the house for us to give you that money. There have
Yeah.
been so many things that we don't understand, and I think it was Tracina said, chess, not checkers. See, the thing
Yeah.
mm,
is, we get caught up playing checkers while our opponents are playing chess. They're,
Mm.
they're steps ahead of us. They're looking at what outcome they want, and so they're taking the necessary steps to get the outcome they want. And so
Sometimes we
there
not
were,
even playing checkers. We playing tic tac toe, doc.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes
We out here just with X's and O's.
you're right.
We ain't even make it the checkers yet.
You're right. You are so right about that. But we have to get back to it. We have to. It is time to keep infusing action through all platforms, Dr. Mosley. So, so true. And this is one of my colleagues that's here with me in Jacksonville, he has a program for young Black males, guys. It's a powerful program. I mean, he
Mm.
takes them out into the woods, they go camping, and life skills, much like yourselves. And that's something else that we have to do. We have to start, and it's gonna be a session at the Black Educators Rock. Best practices. If you have a program, something that you're doing, we need to talk about what you're doing and sharing those best practices, because things don't have to be duplicated. Yes, different areas need different things, but you can still take a template and edit that template as needed. I keep saying that we work in these silos, we operate in these silos, and that is our biggest issue, is that we're stronger together. Dr. Chica used that stick, how you can't break that strong stick when you're all together. But we have to stop working in these silos. So many of us are doing such great works all across this country. but we're working in silos. And because we got on the game board 400 years late, y'all know that analogy.
Yeah.
We can't go alone. We have to go together. To go
Mm-hmm.
far, we have to go together. And so
Mm-hmm.
we have to continue to collaborate, to connect, to collaborate. And that's going to take us trusting one another, us being okay with sharing our creativity, right?
Yeah.
Some of us are afraid to share our creativity and we keep it hidden, and then someone else is doing what we thought about. That's
That's
happened to
real.
me. You're like,
That's happened to
oh,
me several
it's
times.
happened to me. Dr.
Yeah.
Shaun, it's happened like, oh, somebody else is doing it because God is just not giving it to you now.
Hmm.
It's being put in different people. And so we have to stop doing that. We have to get back to trusting one another.
Yeah.
Dr. Principal Confetti said we playing jacks. You said tic-tac-toe. We playing jacks. They out here playing checkers, y'all. We got to get it together. We have to
Ooh,
get it
we y'all on
together,
fire
y'all.
tonight. Y'all on fire tonight. I'm hot over here, Doc. I'm hot. Hey, I know I
Same.
got on a turtleneck, but I'm hot
Same.
over here. Hey,
So how do we, because I got to go back to Dr. Mosley. He said it's time to keep infusing action through all platforms. And so we're our roundup, how we're gonna wrap this up. We're gonna have the conversation. And I wish I could remember them all, but Dr. Khalid El Hakim said family, business, community, church, and there was a fifth one that I'm not remembering. But we have to figure out how do we intentionally infuse these actions through all platforms. And so, of course, because we're Black educators, right, we want to start with education. And how do you guys feel? I know what my answer is, but how do we keep infusing this action and being intentional and playing chess and not checkers through the platform of education?
With regards to Kuumba and creativity,
Yeah, yes, just because that's solving problems. So yes.
yes, we have to heal first. We have to heal first. And what I mean by that is that if you think about when we are our most, just on an individual level, when you are at your most creative, you think about those times when those ideas, the good Lord just drops those ideas in you, and you're like, man, that's a good idea. We've forgotten more good ideas than we remember, but at any given time, the good Lord, he'll just drop something on you. And if you think about what happens in those moments, 9.5 times out of 10, you are in some sort of state of relaxation. We
Yes,
come
that's
up with
true.
these ideas in the
You're
shower,
sleeping. Yep. You're
sleeping,
resting. Yeah.
driving. We cannot be creative when we are stressed, when we are being oppressed, when we even have any sort of perception of not being able to live in our true authentic selves, i.e. operating in white spaces, or i.e. succumbing to the oppression and things that are built into the fabric of what it means to be Black. Work, outside of work, socially, economically, and everything that exists in between. And there's a lot of trauma that comes with that, as the research points out, as we all feel. We've seen it, especially, 2020 was just some of the most recent examples that other people have seen. We've been knowing these things, but other people are just starting to kind of get realizations of a lot of the things that we've been saying, but now they see somebody get killed on camera, and it's like, we've been trying to tell y'all this. But these are things that we've been feeling, and we cannot create at our best when we have not healed. Those ideas, those authentic answers to problems come from a place of healing. And we cannot do that unless we take an active role in our own healing. And we can't wait for somebody else to do it for us.
Yes, she said there is healing in the work we are called to do. It takes work to stay in your or our healing. You're so right, Kenyelle. That is so true. Um, but we know that sometimes creativity also comes out of necessity. We saw a lot of creativity come out of those COVID that
Mm-hmm.
that that pandemic. A lot of things were birthed out of the necessity, and so I totally agree with you. It definitely takes us being in a space of healing and continuously working on healing. But we also know that creativity can also come out of necessity. And where we are now in,
Agreed.
we are in a time of necessary times, guys.
Yes.
You know,
Agreed.
our babies are, we know, I mean, we got to work on it. We got to figure this out. We got to figure this out because our babies are depending on us. They're
Yep.
depending on us. And those of us who are parents also, you know, how frightened are we right now for this world that we're leaving them?
Mm.
Onae, what was your answer
So,
to that question?
uh, Dr. Dennis Kimbrough says that we get about 4 to 5 life-changing ideas per day
Mm.
that we
Mm,
never act upon. He
mm,
teaches at Clark Atlanta. He says, but we never act upon. It's kind of like the problem our community is having is kind of like the church, where
mm,
20% of the people hold up the other 80, right?
mm. That's in
Same way,
everything.
same way in our communities. We beat the 20% down who are actually doing the work, the mentoring programs, the helping the young girls and helping the young guys, right? We tax them and place all the work on the 20%, while the 80 stands back and talks trash. Y'all should be doing this. Y'all should be. Well,
Bringing problems to the people that's bringing solutions.
tell me about it. My question is, when are you gonna get in the fight, right? If all of us stood our post, right? If I do my Young Kings, if Dr. Shaun does his, if Dr. Chester, if everybody stood their post, right, there would not be so many gaps in the wall. It's too many gaps in the wall because people are not on their post, right? And so if everybody gets on their post, we don't have to all do the same things. That's what creativity is about, is that you're tapping into your own ingenuity. But you got to tap into it at least, right? You can't just sit back on the sidelines and not do anything, right? So I wrote down a few things real quick as I was thinking about this. What are some tangible things we can do to better our community? Number one, we need more mentors in our community. More mentors in our community, right? We have too many kids falling through the cracks because we don't have enough mentors. Register to vote. We just saw a very consequential election in Georgia, right? That's something you can do to help better your community. Find a good therapist. That's what Dr. Shaw was just talking about, right? Find a good therapist, right? Support Black business. And number 5, become better advocates for future generations. Those are just a few of the tangible things I wrote down. But like I can't stress this enough. Everybody has to get on their posts. There's no other way around it, right? I don't see enough of us out there when I'm in these schools. I'm like, I wish it was more, right? That somebody's not on their post, because I'm not assuming that there's not some great educators, community educators that's at home watching ESPN that could be in those schools. I know it is, right? But they're just not on their post. And so get on your post.
Well, it goes back to, because what you said, that Dr. Shaun, I'm just reiterating, he said, guys, first we have to heal first, right? You have to be in a place and space of healing in order to become creative and in order to impact our education system or whatever, our communities at large. I put in the chat what Onae's suggestions were. And so Dr. Chica, he gave it in that fable last night when you were talking about, like you said, being on your post. And it's summarized by saying, I tell people this all the time because you said it. What happens is 20% is always toting 100%. So 20% is
Yeah,
doing all the work. That's in
yeah,
sororities and fraternities. That's in organizations, nonprofits. That's at your job. That is the nature of the beast, right? And so, but what we have to understand is that many hands make the workload light.
mm,
Like you can't do everything, but you can do something, like he said
yeah,
last night. And so, what everyone has to do is first understand that, you know what, I can do something. I may not be able to do what Onae does with the youth, but I can come bring some snacks to Onae's group.
yeah,
I, I,
yeah,
I can I can support him by bringing snacks for the week.
yeah,
I may not be a consultant like Dr. Shaun, but what I can do is I can tell my teacher friends about Dr. Shaun's work, right?
yeah,
And so what we have to do, because I still go back to comparing and contrasting, most times we're not able to walk in our own greatness because you're trying to walk in somebody else's.
yeah,
You're comparing and contrasting. And so my suggestion would be to first walk in your own gifts. Talk about who you are, what you bring. Because again, you can't do everything, but you can do something. And then
Mhm.
again, I'm going to say, get out of the silos. If you stop working in silos, if you're doing great work out here, stop doing it by yourself. Find other people to connect and to collaborate with. And I'm suggesting that we do that through Black Educators Rock, because what's going to happen is people are going to be tried and tested, right? Our group is now since 2016, so what, we're 8 years strong. So we're not fly by night. And there have been those that have come and those that have gone, because if you're not in this for true intentions, you're not going to last. Because you'll make some money. Truth be told, a lot of people have made money off of Black Educators Rock except Dr. Chester. That's the truth. And I'm okay with that, right? I'm okay with that, because I just want those who have made money to give back to the Rock, give back to Black Educators Rock, so that we can continue to do the work, and then we can bring others up, right? We can help to mentor. And like you said, mentoring. When it comes to mentoring, I'm so with you on mentoring. But what we have to realize, that we don't have enough resources to be individual mentors. In my dissertation, I wrote a lot about peer mentoring and group mentoring. And so we have to understand that those, because we have to look at the same problems with new results. Mentors is a
Mhm.
powerful tool. It's a powerful resource. But unfortunately, I mean, we're great people, but because we're doing so many great things, how many people can we effectively mentor on a one-on-one?
Right.
But just think
Right.
how great we can be if we got on here a group of 20 of us, and we're mentoring in a group setting or a peer setting. Because we've been mentoring each other tonight. We've been mentoring and being mentored too,
Yep.
right? So that peer mentoring and that group mentoring has to be implemented throughout our spaces as well. And so, I concur with everything you two gentlemen said, and I just wanted to add those to it. That it takes collective efforts, it takes community services. But Tanya, it takes the churches, but Jesus, we got to do some work on the churches, Lord. Church is a whole that's a whole other series all within and of itself, and we not ready to go there tonight. We we gonna come back to that one, Latanya. We are going to come back to that one, because we agree with you. Our churches, they're not what they once were. Just like we said, our drug dealers used to protect. Our churches are not what they once were, and we do have to figure out how to get back to that as well in our churches, because they are an important, powerful part of our identity. Right? Thank you so much, Latanya, for being here with us. Thank you for being here with
Amen in
us.
all caps.
She said her dissertation was on collaboration in online environments, right? Because it takes us to collaborate. It takes us not being in silos. And so, I'm super excited about the work that we're going to be doing. Whatever it is that you think that you can bring to your village, start bringing it today. Like Dr. Shaun said, tomorrow's January 1. It's time. We're on our last day. Tomorrow is the celebration. Imani, I think it is tomorrow, Principal Kafele.
Hmm.
So we'll be
Faith.
Yeah.
talking about Imani tomorrow.
Hmm.
And Principal Kafele and Dr. Chica will be back. If you guys want to join us, you can. You're more than welcome. But we're going to be bringing it all together, the 7. And so it's time, y'all. We can't keep talking about it. One of my colleagues, that's what he said. My friend, Dr. McKesey said, hey, y'all, we do a lot of talking. When are we going to start walking the
Hmm.
talk that we walk? And he has an organization called Off School Grounds, and they're principals and assistant principals and superintendents. And when I say Dr. Shaun, I saw it in action. Somebody
Hmm.
said, hey, I got a book and I need my book to be in the schools. And they said, how many you got? He said, 600. Principal said, I got 100. I got 200. They hit his number on that call that day.
Just like that.
And that's
Just
how it
like
has
that.
to be. That's how it has to be, right? When we are decision makers, we have to make sure that we are reaching back to those and helping those, right? That's part of the village. And so I'm excited about the work that we're going to continue to do. Principal Kafele has that village for AP principals, APs every Saturday with the virtual AP Academy. That's his giving
Hmm.
back every Saturday. And so join him. There are other villages. Not Dr. Shaun, Principal Shaun Hurt does his training on also. I think that same day. I think he does his like at 10.
Hmm.
Dr. Sheikah has a Saturday event as well. There are villages. It's just, are you joining the villages? Are you joining them? And create your own if you don't have one. Be intentional about reaching out to people to be a part of your village, right? Because it's going to take our villages, right? We should all step up and be in the village. So agreed. So agreed. Yes, yes. So if you guys want to be on tomorrow night, you're
I'd
welcome.
love to. I'm on my way to New Mexico tomorrow night.
Oh, have fun.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll be in Albuquerque. It's
Are you going to
January
speak?
2nd. Yep. Hmm.
Oh, best wishes with that. Safe travels. And
Thank
so
you.
we're going to get ready to wrap it up. And so at this point, I'm going to allow both of you to have your last parting thoughts and words for 2022. This is it. You know, we're getting ready to go into 2023. And so, um, Dr. Shaun, you want to start first?
Sure, sure. First I want to give my um, uh, express my thanks and appreciation, Dr. Chester, for extending the invitation. I did not get a chance to say that at the beginning, but I wanted to thank you for allowing me the opportunity to share on your platform and just express some of my thoughts. And I told you, when we conversed prior to this, that I appreciated the opportunity, but I wanted to say that publicly. So thank you for doing this with everything that you are one of the busiest people that I know, but somehow you carved out the time to do this. And so I just wanted to let you know that you are appreciated. I will say this when it comes to Kuumba, creativity, and just kind of piggybacking on that conversation of mentorship. If you know where you are supposed to be in this world and what you are supposed to do. And sometimes we just need that spark. Sometimes we might need just that little bit of a just that you have you have your kindling over here, but you need something to ignite it. And that mentorship can be so powerful. One of the things that the analogies that it brings me to, like the Beatles. Beatles was a very popular band. A lot of people don't know Beatles started as a cover band, meaning they imitated, they played the music of others. Kobe Bryant, one of his mentors was the GOAT, in my opinion, Michael Jordan. He imitated Mike and allowed that to spark in him. The Beatles imitated people like what was some of those bands? They were black bands too, but they allowed that tutelage and that mentorship of someone else to spark something in them and became great in their own right. So who is it that you can, going back to the first principle of unity, who is it that you can unite with? Who is it that you can use to spark that creative brilliance that you have that exists in you somewhere? It just has to be unlocked.
Okay. Thank you. Onae?
Nice, nice. I want to thank Doc for another reason. Um, it was at the Rock Conference in Charlotte that she connected me with a great soul, Dr. Elandra Napper, who transitioned recently.
Mhm.
Um, we were all on the same platform together to do a SEL presentation. Me, Dr. Napper, and Miss Tierica Berry, and that was Doc that put that together. And I was introduced to just a great soul. We would talk all the time about how we were going to hit the road one day and do consulting. Word was going to call it the gospel of education, right? We would always talk about it, and she transitioned, and so I want to thank Doc for connecting us and being that connector. Um, I just want to leave with Howard Thurman again. Don't ask what the world needs. Ask what makes you come alive and go do it. Because what the world needs is more people that have come alive. That's what I want to leave you with.
Thank you. And yes, Doctor, I have to again, yes, Dr. Elandra Napper. We called her the dancing doc at Black Educators Rock, and she will certainly be missed. We do plan on honoring her at the Rock Conference this upcoming year. And she was somebody that she was infectious. She was, I mean, she always had a smile no matter what she was going through. And so she will definitely be missed. And that was God. I don't even know how I even thought about that, but and when it was one of the most powerful sessions that we had ever had, and it was the first one of its type because the three of you got in that room and you killed it, and it was like their first time working together. And it's like they had been together for years, and that's a God movement. And so, thank you for being open to my suggestion, and you guys phenomenally, you were phenomenal with what you did. For me, again, it goes back to just guys, we are here Black Educators Rock invites you all to become a part of our family, because as Dr. Shaun has stated, Onae has said it, Dr. Shaun has said it, we mentor each other. It is no other space where you will have the type of Black excellence that you have within Black Educators Rock. I'm always amazed at the people that I can just call in my phone who people consider educational giants, right? And it's simply because of my relationship at Black Educators Rock and who I've become within that organization. I am a strong believer that we are the answer for which we seek, right? Everything that you're looking for, we only need to look in the mirror. We just need to wake up what is sleeping and breathe life back into what has been on life support. And so I'm challenging you to become the village, to find your village, to learn, to teach, and to teach to learn. And know that you must walk in your purpose every day. Like we said, creativity is about you walking in your purpose and implementing that purpose. And so we look forward to the great things that you're going to do in 2023, individually, for your family, for your at your job, at your school, in your community. We look forward to us being the change that we are seeking. And I thank you so much. We look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow night for the last night. We're going to have that celebration. And we are so, so honored that you guys have taken this time out to be with us. Harambe, 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 Harambe. 6 times, Principal Kafele. You guys enjoy the rest of your night.
You too. Thank you again. Y'all have a good one.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye bye.